Hi, I'm Dr. Marie van Skalkwyk, and this is the exam presentation for Music, Dance and Drama for 2019. The subject codes for this subject is MDD12, MD12 and SSMD12. You are welcome to contact me via my mobile, whether that's via phoning or whether sending a WhatsApp or SMS, or you can also send me an email. Please note that office hours are between 6 and 8. If you contact me outside of these hours, I cannot always answer your calls or take your calls. So if you want to be sure that you speak to me, please contact me between office hours. Now, the aim of this presentation is to provide you with the work that you need to study for all 3 examinations in 2019. This presentation will also provide you information on suggested study methods and the timetable that you need to study for music, dance and drama. I'm going to start this presentation by telling you the specific learning outcomes for this subject. Now, all the examinations focus on these specific exit learning outcomes. They are described in your syllabus. They are that you need to be able to discuss some basic music and drama perspectives. You need to examine and demonstrate how to involve learners in singing and playing of percussion instruments. You need to demonstrate and clarify how to involve learners in dancing activities, including traditional dances. You need to discuss and demonstrate how to involve learners in drama activities. You need to be able to explain how to express artistic opinions in an assertive manner. You need to be able to examine the teaching and learning activities and materials of music, dance and drama for grades 1 to 3. These 6 specific learning outcomes that I've just described, this is what your entire course is about. So this is also what your exams will focus on. If you are studying something and you're not sure if this is important, I want you to measure it against these 6 exit learning outcomes. If it does not form part of this, then I would suggest that it's not as important for you to focus on that. So the best way for you to study for this subject is first to read a section, secondly to do the section, and thirdly to learn the section. Now, the reason why I suggest you study this subject in these 3 steps is because this subject is a practical subject. It's about performing arts. It's about music, about dance and drama. This is stuff that you generally do. This is not stuff that you generally sit and talk about. However, you are required to study the theory behind it, behind the practical subject. So what you need to do is you need to understand why these things are happening, or how to write music, or why music is important to children's development. These are just examples. However, if you do not do these things practically, you will never be able to understand them. Then it will just be something that you read and something that does not make sense. If you use this 3-step process, you will firstly gain knowledge about whatever you are reading about. You will understand the knowledge, and this will also, once you understand the knowledge, it will also help you to remember the knowledge. If you use this 3-step process to learn, you are engaging your entire body in your studies, because you are seeing the stuff when you are reading it, you feel it when you do it, you hear it when you're reading it aloud, you are touching, you are doing. So you're literally using your entire body to study. Now this helps you to differentiate. This means that you can tell apart certain stuff. There are theories and methods and sections in music, dance and drama which I know that students struggle to tell apart. If you use this 3-step process of reading, doing and learning, it will help you to understand, and it will help you to tell all of these difficult things apart. Now, if you understand something, you are able to remember or to memorize it better. And if you don't understand something, you also won't be able to give that answer in the exam. This is why it's of the utmost essence that you don't just go to your study guide and try to memorize everything without understanding what you are reading. You have to understand. I can't emphasize that point enough. Now, I would suggest that you put at least 3 months aside to study music, dance and drama before you write the exam, especially because you are doing other subjects as well, and quite a lot of you are also busy working. The first month, I suggest you spend watching the content-based presentations that are available. This month you need to use to familiarize yourself with the content of the syllabus by carefully reading through your entire study guide. You have to think of your study guide as a story with a beginning, a middle, and the end. If you only read sections, just certain sections of the story, you will never get the full picture. And if you don't get the full picture or the entire story, you will never understand the story. If you think of your favorite movie, that's something that you watch from the beginning to the end, through the middle. If you just watch certain sections of this movie without knowing why you are watching a certain section, you will never understand the full story, you will never understand the full meaning, and there's quite a lot of things that will actually get lost. So you need to treat your study guide the same way. The second month, I suggest you start to actively engage with the study material. This means you are not only reading it anymore, you are reading it section by section, then you are trying out each section practically. This means that if you are reading a section on role play, you actually get up out of your chair or out of your desk and you practically do the role play exercises. After you've completed each section by reading it and doing it, you have to read the section again. So if we use the role play example again, you read the section on role play, you do the role play exercise, and then you read the exercise on role play again. Now, why am I asking you to read it again? Because this way, if there was a difference between what you understood while you read it and what you understood while you were doing it, you can address that difference. And that is how learning takes place. If there's stuff that you don't understand, there's difference between doing and reading. If there's still some unclarity, I would suggest that you immediately either put it to your study group or that you contact your tutor in order to clarify these things. Once whatever you misunderstood are clarified, I want you to repeat this process of reading, doing, and reading again. Now, at the start of each unit are sample questions with suggested answers at the end of the unit. Answer these questions to your best of your ability. Treat these as a question paper, that once you've finished your unit, that you answer, and then you can check. If you only read through them, and you read through them at the end, the answers, you're not going to gain anything, because you can't test yourself whether you actually really understood what the question is asking. Now, the third month, I would suggest then you spend using whatever study method you prefer, whether this is summarizing or mind maps or singing or using mnemonics, whichever study method you prefer. This is what you do in the third month to study all required work. You have to aim to finish studying the entire syllabus before the first day of examinations. And I'm not talking about the first day of the music, dance and drama examination. I'm talking about the first day of the examinations of all your exams. Okay? If you do it this way, once you have to write music, dance and drama, you can only recap because you've already studied it and you know it by heart. So your brain is trained, you've memorized everything, you can just go through it. If you are going to try and study this entire syllabus in 3 or 4 days, you will fail. I promise you this. You need to put in the work for the subject before you go to the exams. If you do it this way, you are ensured that you know your work, that you understand your work, and you can rest easy. Any questions that you have about the subject, or unclarities or miscomprehensions, anything that you struggle with, I would suggest that you contact your tutor in month 2. Why am I asking you to do it this early? Because once you are starting to study, you are supposed to have already understood everything, okay? Because you are now studying it. You're not engaging with it anymore. You are trying to memorize it. Now, as I said at the beginning, if you don't understand something, you are going to struggle to learn it. So make sure that in month 2, you pepper questions, or you pepper your tutor with questions and everything that you don't understand. You can also put these misconceptions or questions that you have, you can also put this to the study groups that I know that quite a lot of you have. Now I'm going to give you some exam tips. You need to study your verbs. A list of verbs are available in the front of your study guide. Understanding the verb is the key to answering the questions correctly and earning the maximum amount of marks. For example, if you are asked to explain a theory or method, then that means that you have to give a fact and then give a reason as to why that fact is a fact. If you are only listing the facts, you can only get half the mark because you're not doing the second half of what explain asks you to do. Okay, so this is why it's of vital importance that you need to study your verbs. Then secondly, the question paper format will always be the same. Question 1 deals with short answer questions and multiple choice questions, and this covers your entire syllabus. Question 2 deals with questions about drama. Question 3 is concerned with questions about music. Question 4 covers dance, and question 5 is about Unit 5, voicing artistic opinion. The number of marks that is allocated to each question usually equals the number of facts that you have to give. If a question is counting or is allocated 12 marks and you only write down 3 things, you cannot get more than 3 marks. There's no way that you can get the 12 marks. So make sure that you know, or that you also look at the amount of marks allocated for each question before you answer. Then the reverse is also true. It doesn't help that you are writing down 12 facts for a question that only counts 2 marks. I can only mark the first 2. It doesn't matter if all 12 are correct. The question is only allocated 2 marks. This then again wastes your time, and that if once you waste time, it means that you don't have enough time to complete the question paper to the best of your ability. Do not leave out questions. If you don't write anything, you can't receive any marks for it. So try to answer a question. Quite often, you will receive marks for your answer because you have a general idea what it is about. But don't leave questions out. Don't leave blank spaces. I also am urging you to please write legibly. If I can't read what you are writing, then I can't allocate you any marks for your answer. You have to read your questions carefully, and you have to read them critically. Don't read until you see the first familiar word, like for example group or dance, and then just answer. Quite often the first familiar word is not necessarily what the question is asking you to do. You have to read the entire question. You have to underline the keywords and the verb, and then make sure that you understand what you have to do so that you can give the correct information at the specific answer. Then lastly, you need to study the 2019 presentation. If you are studying if you are writing this subject for the 5th or the 6th time, it doesn't help that you study the assignment that you handed in 6 years ago. This will not help you. The exam is based on the 2019 assignment, and a third of each of the marks of the question papers, a third of the marks of each of the question papers are coming from the assignment. So by studying the assignment, you technically already have a third of the marks. I can't stress this enough. If you are not handing in the assignment this year, get the assignment. It is available on the My Portal, and work through it. Now from this next section, I'm going to focus on the work that you need to study for the 2019 examinations. The purpose of this presentation is not to explain this work to you. It's literally just to tell you what you have to study. Now what I've done, I've given you the broad generalization of what you have to study, and then under that I've given you the unit titles and section titles that you need to study. You need to study each and every one that's listed in here, as the exam questions are based on these. I won't ask anything outside of this, but if you elect not to study some of these sections, then I can guarantee you that you're not going to know all the work that you need to know. Now we're starting with Unit 1. Unit 1 gives you some basic music and drama perspectives. You need to know in Unit 1 why drama and music plays an important part of a pre-primary and senior primary education setting. What you need to study in order to be able to answer questions on this generalization is Unit 1.1, the aims of music and drama education in a pre-primary or senior primary setting. Unit 1.4, the importance of music as a medium of teaching and learning. And Unit 1.5, some principles that underpin drama performance. You also need to know what music is used for besides just listening to it on your iPod. What you need to study in order to answer questions about this generalization is Unit 1.2, some theories about music therapy, and Unit 1.6, the application of music in sport and advertising. You then need to know the types of careers that you can follow in music and drama. What you have to study in order to answer questions about this is Unit 1.9, types of careers in music and drama. Now finally, what you need to know in Unit 1 is you need to know some famous national and international performers and actors. What you need to study in order to be able to answer questions on this generalization is Unit 1.7, the life and work of some famous historical actors. Unit 1.8, some famous Namibian and African actors and performers. And then you are done with Unit 1. Now we are moving over to Unit 2. Unit 2's title is How to Involve Learners in Singing and Playing of Percussion Instruments. This unit, in other words, has to do with music. Now, we're also going to start off then with music theory. You need to know the theory behind music. For this, in order to answer questions about this, you need to study Unit 2.1, What is Music Theory? You also now need to know how to interest and involve your students in the music classes that you are teaching. In order to be able to answer questions on this, you need to study Unit 2.2, How to Involve Learners in Melodious Activities, Unit 2.5, How to Involve Learners in Body Percussion, and Unit 2.9, How to Teach New Songs to Young Children. You then need to know how to make percussion instruments. Now the answers to these you can find in Unit 2.8, How to Create Homemade Instruments. Finally, in Unit 2, you need to know what the effects of listening to music is. Now, that you get in Unit 2.10, the positive and negative effects of listening to music. Unit 3, we are moving over to Unit 3 now. The title is How to Involve Learners in Dancing Activities, including traditional dances. Now, first and foremost, you need to know why it is important to warm up before you are dancing, and you also need to know what you are warming up. In order to answer questions on this, you need to study Unit 3.1, the importance and type of warm-up exercises before dancing, Unit 3.2, different types of joints or different type of joints that needs to be exercised, and Unit 3.7, the principles of body conditioning. You need to know a little bit about some famous historical international ballet dancers, and if I can give you a hint, if you don't know what ballet is, type the term ballet into your search engine and actually look at a video. This will make it a lot easier for you to understand why these ballet dancers are famous. You need to study Unit 3.6, famous historical ballet dancers in the world. Now, you need to know how to involve students in dance activities, different dance styles, appropriate dance activities, as well as why it is beneficial or good to teach dance to young learners. In order to answer questions on this generalization, you need to study Unit 3.9, How to Involve Learners in Dancing Activities, including traditional dances, Unit 3.10, Traditional and Modern Dances, Unit 3.13, Appropriate Dances for Specific Age Groups, and Unit 3.14, Physical Health Benefits of Regular Dancing. Finally, in Unit 3, you need to know how to plan and execute a dance performance. What this generalization means is that you have to be able to decide you want to do a dance performance, then you need to know how you are going to go about organizing one, practicing it, and then performing it. Now this information is contained in Unit 3.15, a dance production plan including rehearsals, costumes, lighting, and so forth. We are moving over to Unit 4 now. Unit 4 is entitled How to Involve Learners in Drama Activities. Now firstly, once again, you need to know how to interest and involve students in drama classes and or the drama activities that you are presenting. In order to answer questions on this generalization, you need to study Unit 4.1, How to Involve Pre-Primary Learners in Drama Activities, or How to Involve Senior Primary Learners in Drama Activities, and also Unit 4.2, How to Involve Learners in Miming. Now, you then need to know the use of different dramatic or theatre conventions and how to use them in a pre-primary setting. In order to answer questions on this generalization, you need to study Unit 4.4, the use and value of masks, props, and costumes in drama. You also need to know how you can use drama in other settings, or, if we want to put it nicer, how drama can be applied in other settings. In order to answer questions on this generalization, you need to study Unit 4.9, how drama activities could be used in many subjects to make learning interesting and participative, and Unit 4.10, how knowledge of nonverbal communication can help you to more accurately interpret feelings, and motives of other people. Finally, in this unit, you need to know once again how to plan and execute a drama performance. For this, in order to answer questions about this, you have to study Unit 4.8, how to train learners for a complete music and drama show. Now we're moving over to Unit 5. Unit 5 is the last unit, and it's entitled How to Express Artistic Opinions in an Assertive Manner. Firstly, you need to know how to create a critique for an art, music, or drama piece. In order to create an art critique, you need to study Unit 5.1, how to appreciate artistic works of art, Unit 5.2, how to appreciate works of music and drama, and Unit 5.3, how to communicate opinions about artistic works. You also need to know how to react when somebody criticizes you or your work. Now, in order to answer questions about this generalization, you have to study Unit 5.4, how to react to criticism and praise. Finally, in this unit, you need to know the value of group work, and the answers to questions about this generalization you can find in Unit 5.5, how to teach learners to work in a group. Okay? Now, this is everything that you need to study for the exams. As you can see from the generalizations, everything is in accordance to the specific learning outcomes that we've discussed at the start of this presentation. And that's why I said when you are studying something and you are wondering whether this is of crucial importance, always measure it against those specific exit learning outcomes. Now, I would just quickly like to state an important fact. There's a huge difference between an art critique and criticism. Criticism is when somebody tells you, and this is a very silly example, but your hair doesn't look very nice. That's criticism. An art critique is a judgment on a piece of art. And a well-written critique can also be seen as a piece of art on its own. Now, in order to create this judgment or this art critique, you have to look at the painting or the piece of art, whether it's an art installation or a painting, and you have to describe what you see. You have to analyze the work, you have to interpret the artwork, and then you have to evaluate the artwork. If you follow these 4 steps, and they are very, very well explained in your study guide, then you are able to draw up an art critique. So please make sure when you are in the exam that if you see art critique, this is what it is about. If it's about criticism, it's about whether somebody tells you they like you or they like your work or they don't like your work. There is a difference between these 2 terminologies. Make sure that you know that difference. Okay? Now the 2019 assignment actually asks you to write an art critique. And I want you to use this question to practice this method of creating an art critique. Now, an example of creating an art critique will be given in the content-based presentations. And this is it. All the best with your exams. Please feel free to contact me with any questions that you have regarding this presentation or with any content of the study guide, and all the best. Thank you.